There's a demon living inside you. Not the cartoonish red creature with horns, something worse, something human, something familiar. It's the anger you feed, the rage that simmers in your gut when someone disrespects you, the burning in your chest when things don't go your way. It's the part of you that explodes, ruins relationships, makes you weak. And you keep feeding it. But what if I told you there was a way to kill it, to bury it, to walk through fire with calm eyes while everyone else is screaming? Miyamoto Musashi, arguably the most dangerous man to ever walk Japan, did exactly that. He fought over 60 life-or-death duels and never lost. Not because he was the fastest, not because he was the strongest, because he was emotionless in battle. This is how one warrior killed anger and became a legend. And now, you'll learn his way. The question isn't whether you get angry. The question is, will you control it, or will it control you? Chapter 1. The Awakening. The warrior consumed by rage. Edo, Japan, 1645. Ryo knelt in the dojo, fists clenched, jaw tight, entire body trembling. He'd just lost. Again. Third time this week in sparring. And each time, the same problem destroyed him. Anger. When his opponent landed the first strike, Ryo saw red. His technique disappeared. His strategy vanished. He just swung wildly, trying to hurt, trying to punish, trying to make them pay for daring to hit him, and every time he lost. 22 years old, trained since he was 8, technically skilled, physically capable, but completely dominated by the demon inside him. Ryo's master, Takeda-sensei, stood over him, silent, watching with those eyes that saw everything. "Stand up." Ryo stood, still shaking with rage. "You just lost to someone half your skill level. Why?" "He got lucky. Lie. Try again." Ryo's fists clenched tighter. His jaw ached from grinding his teeth. "He caught me off guard. Another lie. The truth, Ryo, or leave my dojo." Something in Takeda-sensei's voice cut through the rage fog. Ryo took a breath. Forced honesty. "I got angry." "Yes. And anger made you what?" "Weak." "Correct. Anger is not strength, Ryo. It's a chain, a leash, a predictable reflex that makes men easy to kill." Takeda-sensei walked to the wall, pointed at kanji written there. Fudoshin. Fudoshin. The immovable mind. This is what you lack. This is what the greatest warriors mastered. And until you master it, you will keep losing, not just duels, everything. Ryo had heard about Fudoshin before. The concept that samurai should remain calm regardless of circumstances, unmoved by provocation, unshaken by chaos. But he'd never understood how. How do you just stop being angry when someone disrespects you? When they attack you? When they push every button you have? "I don't know how to not get angry," Ryo admitted, the words tasting like defeat. Takeda-sensei smiled slightly the first time Ryo had seen that expression in months. "Good. Admitting you don't know is the beginning. Come, I'll show you what killed anger in the greatest warrior who ever lived." Chapter 2. The Principle. Anger is a puppet string. Takeda-sensei led Ryo to a small meditation room. They sat facing each other. "Let me tell you about Miyamoto Musashi," the master began. "You've heard the stories. 60 duels, never lost. People think he won because he was faster, stronger, more skilled. Wrong. He won because he was emotionless in battle. While his opponents raged, panicked, or froze with fear, Musashi remained calm. Cold, calculating, like death itself. Ryo leaned forward. How did he do it? By understanding what anger really is. Marcus Aurelius, a warrior emperor far from Japan, said something Musashi would have agreed with. When you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that trouble you, but your own judgment of them. Read that again in your mind, Takeda-sensei said, giving Ryo time to absorb it. If someone can make you angry, they can make you do anything. You're not in control. You're a puppet, and your strings are your emotions. Ryo felt that truth land like a punch. Every time someone insulted him, every time something didn't go his way, he reacted predictably. They controlled him completely. Musashi cut those strings. Takeda-sensei continued. He trained himself to become immune to provocation. No matter what insult came his way, no matter how brutal the fight, he stayed still, watching, calculating. But how? How do you just not feel anger? You don't stop feeling it. You stop being controlled by it. There's a difference. Takeda-sensei stood, paced slowly. Real strength isn't how hard you hit. It's how impossible you are to provoke. A man with no emotional triggers is a man you can't manipulate, threaten, or break. That is real power. He stopped, looked at Ryo with unusual intensity, as if seeing not just him, but beyond him, through time itself. You know, Ryo, this path you're about to walk, learning to kill anger, to master the immovable mind, it's not just yours. Throughout history, warriors have faced this demon, the rage that destroys from within. Takeda-sensei's voice took on a quality that made Ryo feel the words were meant for more than just this room. In times you cannot imagine, in places far from this dojo, men will face the same battle you face now. The demon of anger consuming them, making them weak when they need to be strong. And they'll discover what you're discovering. That killing anger is the first step to becoming truly dangerous. Not dangerous because you're violent, dangerous because you're unshakable. He placed his hand on Ryo's shoulder. If you feel called to this discipline, if you recognize this demon inside you, know that you walk this path with warriors across all time. We teach this at presence and purpose. The ancient practices, the warrior psychology, the path to becoming immovable. Takeda-sensei's gaze seemed to pierce through Ryo to something beyond. Subscribe to this training. Walk with those who've chosen to kill the demon. Because this isn't just ancient history locked away, this is living practice. The dojo of the immovable mind is always open, and the warriors who train there become unstoppable. He smiled slightly. Not through violence, through unshakable calm. Ryo bowed, not fully understanding why the master's words felt like they were reaching beyond this moment, beyond this conversation. But he felt something shift, a commitment not just to his own training, but to joining something larger. Takeda-sensei returned to his normal tone. Good. Now, let's begin killing your demon. Chapter 3. The Test. Training. The Void. The first thing you need to understand, Takeda-sensei said, is why you get angry. Be honest. Why? Ryo thought about it. When someone disrespects me, why does that make you angry? Because I deserve respect? There it is. Entitlement. You think the world owes you something. You think people should behave the way you want. You think life should be fair. Takeda-sensei's voice was sharp. Musashi would say you are attached, and attachment is the root of suffering. He trained himself to expect nothing from the world. He walked alone, slept in dirt, trained not just his body but his soul to be untouchable. No comfort, no luxury, no illusion of control. And because of that, no one could anger him. Over the next weeks, Takeda-sensei put Ryo through what he called training the void, the practice of becoming empty enough that nothing could disturb you. Week 1. Voluntary hardship. You will sleep outside for 7 nights. No blanket despite the cold. Eat only rice. Train twice as long as usual. Voluntarily choose discomfort. Ryo struggled intensely. Every night, his body screamed for the warm futon inside. His mind created 1,000 justifications for quitting. But on the 3rd night, something shifted. He realized most of his anger was just entitlement in disguise. He got angry when things weren't comfortable, easy, the way he wanted them. By choosing discomfort voluntarily, he was killing that entitlement at the root. Week 2. No reaction training. Takeda-sensei brought in other students to provoke Ryo deliberately. Insults, mockery, disrespect. Your job, the master said, is to not react, not to defend yourself, not to explain. Just watch them. Observe. Stay silent. The first day, Ryo lasted maybe 10 seconds before snapping back at an insult. But slowly, over days of practice, he learned something profound. When you don't react, the power shifts instantly. The person trying to provoke you loses their leverage. They're expecting anger, defensiveness, engagement. When you give them silence, they don't know what to do. By day 7, Ryo could stand completely still while students insulted his honor, his skill, his family, and he felt nothing. Not because he didn't hear the words, but because he chose not to be moved by them. Week 3. Death Meditation. Every morning, Takeda-sensei instructed, "You will meditate on your own death. Visualize it. Accept it. Make death your companion." "Why?" Ryo asked. "Because a man who isn't afraid to die can't be rattled by anything less." Musashi wrote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. When death becomes your companion, anger fades. What's a rude comment compared to the void? What's an insult compared to death?" Ryo practiced this every dawn. At first, it was terrifying. Imagining his own death, his body cold, his life ended. But after 2 weeks, something changed. Death stopped being terrifying. It became neutral, inevitable, natural. And suddenly, everything else, the insults, the disrespect, the provocations, seemed ridiculously small. Why get angry about temporary things when death was certain? By the end of 3 weeks, Takeda-sensei tested Ryo again, same opponent who'd beaten him a month ago. This time, when the opponent landed the first strike, Ryo felt the old anger try to rise, but he observed it like a cloud passing, acknowledged it, didn't obey it. His technique stayed clean. His strategy remained intact. He moved like water, calm, fluid, unavoidable. He won in under 2 minutes. After the match, Takeda-sensei approached. "You felt the anger?" "Yes." "But you didn't obey it?" "No." "That's the difference. You don't eliminate anger. You stop letting it control you." Well done, Ryo. You've taken your first step toward Fudoshin. Chapter 4. Warrior Psychology, the Science of the Blade. That evening, Takeda-sensei gathered all students for a teaching session. Ryo sat in front, still processing his transformation. "Tonight," the master began, "I'll explain the psychology of the blade, why anger makes you weak, and why emotional control makes you deadly. The neuroscience of anger. Your brain has 2 primary systems. The amygdala, the ancient, primitive part that produces anger, fear, rage, and the prefrontal cortex, the newer part that allows conscious control, strategy, awareness. When you get angry, the amygdala hijacks your brain. Blood flow shifts away from the prefrontal cortex. You literally become stupider. Your strategy disappears. Your technique degrades. You become predictable. This is why Musashi won. While his opponent's amygdalas were screaming, his prefrontal cortex stayed in control. He saw opportunities they couldn't see, made decisions they couldn't make, all because he trained his mind to override the primitive rage response. The Stoic Foundation. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, Takeda-sensei continued. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Anger is always a choice. Someone insults you, that's the event. You getting angry, that's your choice. You can choose differently." Marcus Aurelius, while commanding armies in battle, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is Fudoshin, not controlling the world, controlling yourself within the world. The way of Musashi. Musashi wrote in the Book of 5 Rings, "Do nothing which is of no use." Anger, if not used right, is almost always useless. You think it helps you win arguments? It just shows you're weak. You think it helps in conflict? It makes your enemies smile because they know they've already got you. The mind is like a blade. When you let it rust with emotion, it dulls. But when you keep it still, sharp, silent, it cuts through anything. The kill ego practice. At its core, Takeda-sensei said, his voice intensifying, anger is ego wearing a mask. You don't get angry because the world is cruel. You get angry because your image is under attack. Someone challenges your worth. You feel unseen, disrespected, dismissed. But here's the truth Musashi understood. Ego is weakness disguised as importance. The more you feed it, the more fragile you become. Musashi's solution? Kill the ego, burn it, starve it, leave its bones behind. He didn't care if people liked him, didn't care if his name echoed through history, didn't cling to praise or status. Because he understood, the more you crave recognition, the easier it is to control you. A man with nothing to prove is a man no one can provoke. Kill the ego, and anger dies with it. Ryo listened, absorbing every word. He was learning not just techniques, but a complete philosophy of internal mastery. Chapter 5. The First Transformation. The Duel Without Rage. 3 months into training, a wandering ronin arrived at the dojo. His name was Katsu, and he had a reputation for 2 things: exceptional skill and a vicious temper. He challenged the dojo publicly. Takeda-sensei, as was custom, selected his best student to represent the school. He chose Ryo. Ryo felt his old instincts try to activate: fear, anxiety, the urge to prove himself. But he remembered his training, breathed, centered, found stillness. The next morning, students and local villagers gathered to watch. Katsu arrived with theatrical swagger, spinning his katana, talking loudly about his victories. "Is this the best you have?" he mocked, looking at Ryo. "A boy." The old Ryo would have exploded at that disrespect. The new Ryo just watched, observed, calculated. They bowed, assumed positions. Katsu attacked first, aggressive, fast, trying to overwhelm. Ryo moved like water, redirected, never where Katsu expected. Katsu grew frustrated. "Fight me, coward." Ryo remained silent, calm, watching for the opening. It came after 2 minutes. Katsu, angry at Ryo's lack of reaction, overcommitted to a strike, left himself exposed for half a second. Ryo's bokken touched Katsu's throat. Light, controlled, victory. The crowd was silent, then erupted in approval. Katsu stood there, shocked. He'd been beaten not by superior technique, but by emotional control. Ryo had stayed calm while Katsu's rage made him sloppy. After the match, Katsu approached. "How did you do that?" "I felt anger try to rise, but I chose not to obey it." Katsu looked at him for a long moment. "Teach me." That evening, Takeda-sensei congratulated Ryo. "You've achieved the first level of Fudoshin. Not elimination of emotion, but mastery over it. This is what makes a warrior dangerous." Ryo bowed deeply. "Thank you, sensei. But I feel like this is just the beginning." "It is. The real work starts now." But mastering anger in controlled duels was one thing. Mastering it when life completely falls apart, that was the real test. And it was coming. Chapter 6. Deep Training Arc. The Mountain of Stillness. Takeda-sensei announced, "Ryo, you will spend 3 months at the mountain temple. The monks there will teach you what I cannot, how to maintain Fudoshin not just in battle, but in every moment of life." 2 days later, Ryo climbed to Reigen Temple, built into the cliffs of Mount Koya. The head monk, Master Hakuin, greeted him with a slight bow. "You've learned to control anger in the dojo. Now you'll learn to kill it at the root." The temple routine was extreme. 3 a.m. Wake. Cold water purification. 3:30 a.m. Zazen. Sated meditation. 3 hours 6:30 a.m. Walking meditation. 7 a.m. Breakfast silence. Mindful eating. 8 a.m. Physical labor, chopping wood, carrying water. 4 hours. 12 p.m. Lunch, rice, vegetables. Silence. 1 p.m. Study Buddhist texts. 3 p.m. Zazen. 3 hours 6 p.m. Dinner 7 p.m. Evening chanting 8 p.m. Personal reflection. 9 p.m. Sleep. The first week was hell, not because of the physical work. Ryo could handle that, because of the mental discipline. Sitting for 6 hours total each day with nothing to do but watch his own mind was torture. Every itch felt unbearable. Every thought screamed for attention. Time moved impossibly slowly. But Master Hakuin explained, "This is where anger actually lives, not in external events, in your mind's inability to be still. You get angry because you can't sit with discomfort, can't accept what is, can't let go of control. Zazen teaches your mind to be like a still pond. When the pond is calm, you can see clearly to the bottom. When it's disturbed by anger, you see nothing." By week 3, something remarkable happened during meditation. Ryo's mind completely quieted. No thoughts, no anger, No anything, just presence. It lasted maybe 20 seconds. But in those 20 seconds, he understood what the masters meant by Fudoshin. It wasn't about controlling anger, it was about becoming so still internally that anger couldn't even arise. Master Hakuin noticed the change in Ryo's face. You touched it. Yes. Good. That's the target. Now you spend the rest of your life learning to access that stillness in every moment. In battle, in peace, in chaos, in calm. The voluntary provocation practice. In month 2, Master Hakuin introduced a brutal training. Voluntary provocation. Each day, monks would deliberately try to anger Ryo, insult him, accidentally ruin his work, disrupt his meditation, test his reactions constantly. In the dojo, Hakuin explained, you controlled anger during fights, but real life isn't structured duels. It's constant, unpredictable provocations. You must learn to maintain stillness regardless of circumstances. At first, Ryo failed repeatedly. A monk would knock over his carefully arranged meditation stones, and he'd feel anger flash. Another would criticize his work after hours of effort, and frustration would rise. But slowly, over weeks, his responses changed. He started observing the provocations like he was watching someone else's life, detached, curious, not personally invested. By month 3, monks couldn't provoke him. They tried everything: insults, mockery, accidents, criticism. Ryo remained like stone, not cold or robotic, but genuinely unmoved. The death koan. One evening, Master Hakuin gave Ryo a koan, a Zen paradoxical question designed to break logical thinking. If you are already dead, what can anger you? Ryo sat with this question for days, meditated on it, let it dissolve his usual thinking patterns, and then he understood. If you truly accept death not just intellectually, but in your bones, then everything else becomes irrelevant. Insults, disrespect, provocations, what are they compared to death? Musashi understood this. He meditated on death every single day, not morbidly, but as a way to make everything else appropriately small. During this meditation, Ryo felt something arise not from his own thoughts, but from something deeper, something that seemed to speak across time itself. You, who walk this path of killing anger, of achieving the immovable mind, you don't walk alone. In meditation, haven't you felt it? That connection to warriors across centuries, all seeking the same stillness, the same mastery? The thought continued, feeling like wisdom flowing through him rather than from him. This training isn't locked in ancient temples. It lives wherever warriors choose to practice it. Right now, in your time, others are discovering what you've discovered. The demon of anger, the path to killing it, the discipline of Fudoshin. And they'll need guidance, need community, need the practices refined over centuries. That's what presence and purpose provides. Every week, the ancient warrior psychology meets modern application. Every week, the dojo of the immovable mind opens. Ryo felt a pull not to abandon his current practice, but to understand it as part of something larger, something ongoing. Subscribe to the training, not as entertainment, but as discipline. Walk with warriors you may never meet, but who fight the same internal battle. Let the teaching continue through you, as it continued through Musashi, through your master, through every warrior who chose stillness over rage. The insight passed like a cloud. Ryo opened his eyes, feeling more committed than ever, not just to his own transformation, but to joining an eternal lineage of warriors who understood that true strength is internal. Master Hakuin sat across from him, as if he'd witnessed the entire internal journey. You've touched something ancient, he said simply. Good. Now, back to practice. Because understanding is just the beginning. Living it is the work of a lifetime. Chapter 7. The Final Confrontation. When everything falls apart, Ryo returned from the mountain after 3 months. Transformed, calm, centered, he felt like a different person. Then life tested everything he'd learned. 1 week after returning, word came. His younger brother Kenji had been killed. Murdered by a group of bandits in a dispute over nothing, a drunken argument that escalated. The messenger provided details. Kenji had been unarmed. They'd beaten him to death, left his body in the street. Ryo felt something he hadn't felt in months. Pure, volcanic rage. Every fiber of his being screamed for revenge. His hands shook, his vision narrowed. The demon he thought he'd killed roared back to life. He went immediately to Takeda-sensei. "Master, I need to kill them. All of them." Takeda-sensei looked at him with those seeing eyes. "No, you don't. They murdered my brother." "Yes. And if you go now, filled with rage, you'll either die or become exactly what you hate. The demon will win. Everything you've learned will be meaningless." "So I do nothing?" Ryo's voice was harsh, desperate. "I didn't say that. I said don't go now. Not like this." Takeda-sensei stood, walked to the kanji on the wall Fudoshin. "This is your real test, Ryo. Not anger in duels, not anger from insults, but anger from genuine tragedy, from real loss, from justified rage. If you can find stillness even now, if you can access Fudoshin even with your brother dead, you'll have mastered what Musashi mastered. Not the absence of emotion, the choice to not be controlled by it." Ryo wanted to scream, to punch, to rage. Every meditation practice, every training session, every moment of stillness felt meaningless in the face of this pain. "How?" he finally asked, voice breaking. "How do I stay calm when everything inside me wants violence?" "You don't stay calm. You feel everything, the rage, the pain, the loss, but you don't obey it. You sit with it. You breathe with it. You let it wash through you without acting from it. For 1 week, you will do nothing but meditate, feel everything, process everything. And then, if you still choose action, you'll act from stillness, not rage." That week was the hardest of Ryo's life. He sat in meditation, and grief and rage overwhelmed him in waves. He wanted to quit, to run, to just do something. But he stayed. He breathed. He observed his own mind creating stories about revenge, justice, what he should do. And slowly, over days, something shifted. The rage remained, but it stopped controlling him. He could feel it without being consumed by it. By day 7, Ryo understood. His brother was dead regardless of what he did. Revenge wouldn't bring Kenji back. It would just create more death. He went to Takeda-sensei. "I'm not going after them." "Why?" "Because I won't let them destroy me too. Kenji is gone. If I go after them from rage, I become what they are. The demon wins. My brother wouldn't want that." Takeda-sensei nodded slowly. "This is mastery, not avoiding the emotion, feeling it fully and choosing wisely anyway." Musashi faced this same choice many times, friends killed, betrayals, losses. And each time, he chose stillness over rage. Because he understood, revenge from anger is ego, justice from stillness is honor. Ryo bowed. He felt different. Sadder, but not broken. Grieving, but not consumed. The demon had tried its final attack, and for the first time, Ryo had won completely. Final reveal the warrior truth. 3 years later, Ryo sat in the same dojo where his training began. But now he sat as a teacher, not a student. A young warrior knelt before him, hot-headed, quick to anger, exactly like Ryo had once been. "Master Ryo, how did you become so calm? Everyone says nothing angers you." Ryo smiled slightly. "That's not true. I feel anger. I just don't obey it anymore." "How?" "By understanding what Musashi understood. Anger is a puppet string. And the moment you realize someone is pulling your strings, you can choose to cut them." He stood, walked to the kanji on the wall Fudoshin. "This isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. Real strength isn't how hard you hit. It's how impossible you are to provoke. A man with no emotional triggers is a man you can't manipulate, threaten, or break. That's why Musashi was so dangerous. Not his sword. His stillness." The young warrior looked skeptical. "But doesn't anger give you strength? Make you fight harder?" "No. It makes you fight stupider. Your technique degrades. Your strategy disappears. You become predictable. Anger feels powerful, but it's actually the opposite. It's control being taken from you." Ryo sat back down. "Here's the truth no one tells you. You get angry because you think you're entitled to control things you were never meant to control. You think the world owes you respect. You think people should behave how you want. You think life should be fair. But Musashi trained himself to expect nothing. He slept in dirt, walked alone, refused comfort. And because he expected nothing, no one could disappoint him. No one could anger him. That's the secret. Kill entitlement. Kill ego. Kill the parts of you that need the world to be a certain way. What's left is Fudoshin, the immovable mind. The young warrior absorbed this, looking thoughtful. Where do I start? Ryo smiled. You've already started by asking. Ending the samurai lesson, Ryo led the young warrior to the training ground where other students practiced, all of them at different stages of mastering their own demons. What you're about to learn, Ryo said, isn't just for you. Throughout history, warriors have fought this same battle, not with swords, with themselves, with the demon of anger that destroys from within. He gestured at the students. Every person here came consumed by rage, controlled by their emotions, weak because they thought anger made them strong, and they discovered what Musashi knew, what the Stoics knew, what every true warrior eventually learns. The quieter you are, the deadlier you become, not through violence, but through unshakable presence. Ryo looked directly at the young warrior, but his words seemed to carry beyond this moment, beyond this dojo, as if speaking to anyone who would ever face this challenge. This training continues today, not just in ancient dojos, but everywhere warriors choose mastery over chaos. At Presence and Purpose, we keep this discipline alive. Every week, ancient warrior psychology meets modern life. Every week, the path to Fudoshin opens for those ready to walk it. If you feel the demon of anger controlling you, if you recognize yourself in what I've described, then join us. Subscribe to Presence and Purpose. Train with warriors across time who've chosen stillness over rage, mastery over reaction, power over weakness. He placed his hand on the young warrior's shoulder. You don't walk this path alone. The dojo may look empty sometimes, but it's filled with the spirits of every warrior who killed their demon. Musashi walks with you. The Stoics walk with you. Every master who chose Fudoshin walks with you. And we walk with you too. Everyone who subscribes to this discipline, who chooses to kill anger before it kills them, who understands that true strength is internal. Ryo handed him a bokken. Subscribe to the training. Let these teachings reach you every week. Practice with purpose. And remember, the warrior with no anger left to provoke is the one you should fear most. The young warrior took the bokken, bowed deeply. I'm ready, master. Good. Then let's begin. As they walked to the training area, Ryo thought of Takeda-sensei, of Master Hakuin, of his brother Kenji, of everyone who'd shaped his journey from rage-filled warrior to master of stillness. The demon tried to live in everyone, but only those who recognized it could kill it. And those who killed it became truly dangerous, not through violence, but through unshakable calm. The warrior's way anger is a puppet string, and you're the toy. Cut the strings, kill the demon, master yourself. Because the warrior who cannot be provoked cannot be defeated. Walk with presence, kill your anger, become immovable.